what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be talking about contrast. And we're going to be also talking about warm and cool colors. So we've talked about this before, but warm colors are going to be your fiery colors, right? Your reds, your oranges, your yellows, hot colors. And then your cool colors are going to be those colder water-like colors. So greens, blues, purples, things like that. Yellow is a color that can float in between, and so is purple. It's a color that can kind of float in between. You can have a blue purple, and that can be more of a cool color, or you can have a red purple, and that can be more of a warm color. So you guys will be able to play around with that. So with our art piece today, what we're going to be highlighting is contrast. Contrast is a very important element of art. And basically it adds some interest to your piece to have contrast. So black and white are contrasts. Warm and cool are contrasts. Things that are opposite from each other, they complement each other. And that's what makes an art piece a little bit more interesting. So we're going to focus on this idea today while we are making our warm and cool contrasting art pieces. All right, so let's go start on our compositions, and I will meet you guys at the table with some paper. So the project that I want to show you guys, and you guys can do whichever project or whatever kind of project you want to highlight the idea of contrast and warm and cool colors. You don't have to do exactly what I'm showing you, but I think it's a pretty cool project. A geometric, warm and cool contrasting tree. So what we're gonna do first is you're gonna find something that you can trace that's a circle. This is going to be kind of the center of our tree. It's gonna show where our leaves are gonna go. So you're gonna put it somewhat in the middle of your paper, and then you're just gonna trace it. I just used the top of a candle, but you guys can use like the bottom of a bowl or a cup or something. And you're gonna go ahead and trace around that and put it in the middle. After that, you're gonna be making the trunk of your tree. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna go kind of into the middle, and you're going to make two lines that come down like so. I don't know if you guys can see it. Remember, we're using light, sketchy lines. And then you're going to do your branches. So your branches are gonna go all up to the edges of your tree, and you're going to have them just kind of going in all different directions. Background. So the way that we're going to do this contrast is we're going to have warm colors inside of our tree and then cool colors in the background. So you can take your ruler. If you don't have a ruler, you can use a straight edge. That's fine. Your ruler, and you're going to make boxes. Now we're going to be coloring in all these boxes. So if you don't want to color in a bunch of tiny boxes, I would suggest making your boxes at least as big as the ruler. So I'm going to use my ruler's width so that I know they're all the same. So I'm just going to trace the sides of my ruler, and my lines are going to go all the way through my branches and everything, because I'm going to use this checkerboard pattern for all of my colors. And then now that I have my lines vertically, I'm going to do my lines horizontally. So again, I'm going to keep the same width. So whatever width you decided to do, try to keep that same one. The next step that we're going to do is we are going to outline our tree in order to give it some definition. We are not going to outline the circle. We're not going to outline any of those checkerboards. We're just outlining the tree. So with your Sharpie or with your marker, you're going to be outlining these. What I would suggest doing is, you guys can see where these branches, they have a line between where the trunk is and where the branches start. I would suggest not outlining that. So for instance, instead of outlining this little line here, I'm just gonna outline where I see my branch. I'm not gonna outline where it overlaps. All right, once you have your tree outlined, again, I'm not outlining the circle, I'm just outlining the edges of my branches and the trunk. Now you're gonna add some patterns or some movement lines to mimic the grains of a tree. So for your branches, I would just suggest doing curved lines. But for your trunk, I want you guys to kind of watch the way I do that. So I'm gonna take my marker and I'm gonna create some knots in my wood. So I'm gonna go ahead and create a few circles. where I'm gonna have some knots. And now I'm going to go ahead and go with some movement lines. So for instance, I can have some lines that are going to be curving around these knots like this. So I'm going to create some knots that are going to have some movement and create this kind of movement while mimicking grains. And there's no right or wrong way to do this, just adding some movement lines in there and get creative. As you can see, I'm just going for it. I'm accepting that it's not going to be perfect by going straight in with my marker, which you can go ahead and do for your branches. Keep it a little bit more simple, and you can just do curved lines that go out in the direction that your branches are going. Okay, so these are not straight lines, but instead they're curved, mimicking the like 3D-ness of your branches. So once you're done with your curved lines on your branches, what you can do is you can go ahead and add some final touches with your Sharpie or your marker or pencil, whichever black you're using for your trunk. I want my warm colors to be in this circle area. So when I'm coloring, I'm going to stop where that circle is because I want a very sharp contrast to be able to see this is warm, this is cool out here. And if you want to do cool and warm, that's up to you. If you want to do a different type of contrast project, please do that. So when you're coloring, you're going to try your best to stay within the lines. You do not want to color your tree. Your tree is going to be something of a baseline for your contrast. Usually when you have a high contrast art piece, it has lots of color like ours is going to, you're going to want to have something that is neutral, and that's going to be our tree. Our tree is not going to have any contrast in it. It's just going to be these lines. So again, I'm not going to make everything the same color, but I'm just going to color maybe 2 boxes the same color. I'm coloring nice and hard with my colored pencils. That's my my chosen medium. You can use markers for this if you'd like, or you can use crayons. You guys can see the way I stopped right there because out here, outside of my circle, is going to be cool colors. So I want you guys to have so much fun with this. So I can't wait to see these, and I will show you my end product.